Masks fogging up are enough of a problem when you're not getting all teary-eyed. Thank you, Molly. There's this web comic that I get a big kick out of, and I won't dwell on it long, but it's called Tales of a Background Hufflepuff, and maybe the other houses. But it's a little web comic about the life of ordinary wizarding students at Hogwarts while Harry Potter is there and all this wild stuff is going on. You know, most of the people at the school are just trying to get an education, get a job, make friends, worry about their, dating, and their owl is acting weird and I can't get that potion right. Meanwhile, Harry and Voldemort are off here doing their thing, and it made for a very absurd life for these background Hogwarts students. And it's a good reminder to me when you're thinking about a story, some of the questions to ask. I was also an English teacher, so bear with me. Whose story are we telling? Whose story are we learning? For those background Slytherins, the story was a very, very different one than the one in the books that some of us have read. Whose story is being overlooked? Whose point of view is absent, and why? But it's also, it's a reminder of something else, something a little bit bigger, and it has to do with the inverse relationship between clarity and proximity. The closer you are to something, the clearer, the harder it is to see all the way around it, right? If you hold your order of service this close to your face, it's probably hard to read unless you forgot your glasses. When you hold it out here, it's a little bit clearer. So as we move away from things, they come into better focus. Stories are the same way. They're better with a little bit of age and a little bit of time on them. In a story, there are usually one of two types of narrators, a first-person narrator and a third-person narrator. And in traditional literary theory, a third-person narrator is generally considered to be more reliable because they often have insights into the characters' minds in a kind of omniscient way. They're seen as a little more detached from the story. They have more distance, and therefore they have more clarity. First-person narrators are notoriously unreliable. That's because they're in the middle of the story. Telling your story while you're in the thick of it is a lot harder. Now, what does any of this have to do with Christmas? Good question. I'll get there. If you, like me, are friends with a lot of ministers, you know that this season of joy and hope and light has been a real brain teaser for those of us who are in the joy and hope business. Because we can't just point toward joy and ask you to trust us that it's out there. We've all been burned by that before. And we can't ignore everything that we have been through in this year that came with a lot of hope and expectation, and reality looked a lot different for a lot of us here and a lot of us at home as well. We've been through too much to be exclusively festive, but we know, and now I'm talking about the professional hope and joy people, the ministers, and probably some other people as well, teachers, I see you. We know that if we don't point ourselves towards some kind of hope, some kind of joy, some kind of star in the east, we haven't really done our jobs. And so every minister that I know has spent the last month going, what do I tell them? What do I tell them about what the future is going to look like? How do I give them hope when we've had a year of many different disappointments, many different exciting new challenges, many exciting, beautiful, joyful things, but also a lot of times when expectation and reality were much further apart than we want to be. What do I tell you? What story do I choose? What message do I pick to strike just the right chord with my people? How am I gonna narrate our story? Because ministers, contrary to popular demand, are just as human as everybody else. We are mired in the middle of our own questions and uncertainty and hopes and fears. And we are just as close to this story as anybody else. Stories make so much more sense when you are telling them from the outside than they do from the inside. Now, what this really means is that ministers are truly stumped, not about what to tell their people, but about what to tell themselves. What we might be saying is, I'm having a hard time seeing a way out of this. Isolation, polarization, frayed relationships, struggling to maintain connections and mental equilibrium. It is hard to see a way out of it. But that's part of what stories are like. We forget that we are in the middle of one. And just because I can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. That perhaps is what faith is for when we cannot know for sure how things will turn out. And I came to the conclusion that it's okay that I don't have all the answers, which is good because that would never end well. So what story do I tell you? A story I'm in. A story that it's hard to see a way out of. And so today I decided, let us tell the story of this holiday. Let us tell this story about a birth. Because the end was not clear then either. The beginning of the Gospel of John starts, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I like to imagine it a little bit differently and say, in the beginning was a story, and the story was with God, and the story was God. And like so many, our story tonight begins in mystery. It begins a long time ago, and in a faraway land, there lived a girl. In those days, a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. And Joseph traveled to Bethlehem in Judea with his betrothed Mary, who was with child. And while they were there where the time came for the baby to be delivered, and she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and placed him in a manger, for there was no room at the inn.
It was a long, hard journey, but we had no other choice. The emperor declared that all would be registered, and we had to go. I was cold and tired and frightened that night as we arrived in Bethlehem, as the birth pains increased. We began looking for a place for the baby to be born. Again and again, we were turned away. No room for you, dear. Your type isn't welcome here. The pain increased as we searched and searched, until at last we were ushered into a warm shelter. There is nothing miraculous about the protection of roof and walls and the body heat of animals. But in that moment, warmth was a miracle. And birth, well, it is everyday ordinary, done by animals and humans across the world every moment of every day. But it is also impossibly miraculous each and every time. The baby came just when I could bear no more. The baby came and he was perfect. The angel said he was perfect and that people would worship him. Ridiculous as that seems of a poor baby, yet as I gazed upon his face, I wondered how anyone could keep from worshiping him. Such possibility, such beauty, such hope. How could anyone help but fall on their knees before the impossible miracle of life?
This is what happens when you print double-sided and forget. The story says, on that night, there were shepherds in the field watching over their flocks, when suddenly an angel with a multitude of the heavenly host appeared to tell them of the Holy Child, singing glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace and goodwill to all. Dorothy, if you would come forward.
And so a baby was born, and the light of its new life shone in the darkness. And the light was reflected in the sky as the stars shone in the darkness. And one star shone so brightly, and its light started to grow until the light filled the darkness. And there was no night and day. Time became whole, and there was only now. And there was no heaven and earth. The world became whole, and there was only here. And so all of us angels of heaven, we were here. Do you feel us? A stirring in the air, the movement of our wings around you, the touch of feathers, electrifying and gentle, somehow both at once. Do you hear us? The sound of music, faint but unmistakable, all around you and deep inside you, unlike anything you have ever heard before, and somehow something you have always known. When angels are present, we bring you a message. What message did we bring that night? A baby is born, and all things are possible. Love and peace, justice and mercy, hope and joy. A baby is born. Open your eyes, open your hearts, and witness the glory of this moment. Bring your light and join us in our song.
Each night a child is born is a holy night, including the night or day of your own births. I invite you, in the spirit of that light we all share, to come forward and help me add the next piece of our nativity. And also to add a star to our night sky. As you come forward, we will sing the first Noel. Come now and witness the glory of this moment. As the story goes, when the angel appeared and the glory of God shone around them, the shepherds in the fields were sore afraid. Yet the angel told them, "Fear not." And when she had gone away, they went to Bethlehem to see the babe lying in a manger. And they spread the word of what they had seen and heard on that night.
We were trembling still after the angels left us, and we debated among ourselves, would we go see this wonderful child whom the angels had proclaimed? Could a child save us from the crushing grip of Rome? Could a little baby bring goodwill to this world of strife? Surely not. And why had the angels come to us, lowly shepherds, living out among the animals? We were full of doubt, but in the end our curiosity won out. Our curiosity and wild seed of hope unfolding inside. Perhaps it was true. Perhaps peace was possible. Perhaps tyrants would tremble before the tiny baby. Perhaps the last could be first, the poor lifted up. Perhaps the tender, vulnerable love was stronger than we had ever guessed. And so we went. We brought our animals and we followed the star, full of doubt, full of fear, and somehow full of hope.
Like the shepherds, we too are just going about our daily lives. And each day offers the possibility of miracles, of ordinary grace, of sources of wonder, of hope. To make our shepherd feel more at home, let's help build their flock as we sing "It Came Upon a Midnight Clear." Come now, out of the everyday, bringing your whole life with you into this season of light. The story says that when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem seeking the baby to worship him. They followed the star to Bethlehem, bearing gifts befitting a king, gold and frankincense and myrrh.
We didn't know exactly where we were going. We didn't know what we would find. But we set out on faith, guided by prophecy and a star. The star grew brighter and brighter to the west of where we were. It was a once-in-a-lifetime kind of brilliance. We prepared for a long journey and found rich gifts to bring into the presence of such great splendor. We brought the best we had to serve to our King. In the end, we were speechless with surprise to find a baby there, tiny and dusty in the hay. But there he lay, and in him we saw the truth as it had been foretold, that God would live among us in the weak and the vulnerable, that love doesn't need the power of kings to do its transforming work in the world. It just needs us. Our hands, feet, our gifts from within. We brought the best we had in service of love, and we went away changed forever.
Each of us has gifts within us, which we share with the world when we act with love. And each of us has a long journey ahead, for it is never easy or certain to share our most precious gifts with others. Carter, would you like to help take these wise people and add them to our scene? Those who would like to participate may now come forward and receive a jewel from our wise person. You may then leave your jewel at the manger, sharing the gift of your heart. Come now and follow your star, bringing the gifts that only you can bring to the world. Story ends tonight with Mary and the shepherds and the wise people, and who knows, maybe even the angels pondering mysteries in their heart. What will become of this baby? Visited by angels, admired by shepherds, worshipped by strange kings? The story ends there for tonight, but we know where this story goes. This baby would one day be a threat to an empire and a light for many, a teacher so beloved that his teachings would live on for thousands of years. He would share a love so radical, so strong, that some believe they can still feel it, even now. Most of all, he would show humankind what is possible when we share our light with another, when we share our light with the world. Let us share that light this night. pass out candles in the sanctuary. Let's turn the lights down a little bit. This is the light that is lit for everyone who comes into the world. The light of kinship, the light of hope, the light of mercy, and the light of peace. This is the light that shines within and beyond us, but that needs our help entering the world. Yes. And I know it's been a minute since we all lit candles together. Just a reminder, unlit candle is the one that bends. Otherwise, we have messes and possibly burns, neither of which we want. This night in the dark, we proclaim our vision of a world made new, made loving and kind and peaceful at last. We proclaim our hope by lighting candles, knowing that our candles echo and join with the flames of menorahs, kinnaras, Yule logs, bonfires across the world, knowing that the light comes in many beautiful forms, if we will but make way for its coming. So as we share the flame together, may we receive it with a promise that we will each be bearers of the light, bringing love to birth among us through acts of compassion and words of peace. Will you join me now in the glow of these candles in singing Silent Night?